After several seasons dominated by oversized silhouettes, boxy shapes, exaggerated shoulders, voluminous hemlines, and almost nothing fitted, designers have spent the last 2 or 3 seasons pulling decisively back toward classic femininity. The aesthetics of the 1950s, and to some extent the 1920s, have moved from the fringes of fashion back into the spotlight, championed now by major, influential houses rather than niche labels. Glamour is having a genuine cultural moment, both online and within the industry itself. Oversized, casual, and athletic styling alone aren't driving sufficient sales, whereas a glamorous silhouette pulls in more considered accessories, footwear, and beauty choices, which explains the heel resurgence of the past few seasons. Femininity is the defining theme of the season. Erdem built its identity around glamour, opulent detailing, and luxurious fabrics, almost always featuring crystal or silk thread embroidery. That embellishment technique, long confined to a handful of niche labels, is suddenly showing up much more broadly this season, including at houses that haven't traditionally leaned into it. A once-forgotten technique in the mass market is back in high demand. Bows are another recurring element for the brand, holding steady across several seasons now, even if reactions split sharply. Some find them overly frilly. For the right customer, though, bows are a defining piece, whether used as pure decoration or as a structural, sculptural element, like an oversized draped bow. Luisa Spagnoli sits on the more commercial, slightly conservative end of the spectrum. Here, a fashion-forward polo shirt was paired with a full skirt and matching soft-knit gloves. Swapping in a polo for the more typical 50s jacket or twin-set, fitted top plus compact cardigan shifts the whole look toward preppy territory, reinforced by the soft pink colorway. Preppy remains a resilient undercurrent this season. Emilia Wickstead, known for restrained femininity, showed a 50s dress paired with pumps and a cardigan, one of the season's most in-demand wardrobe staples, knit in classic Aran cable and bobble stitching. The palette combined mustard yellow, soft turquoise, and cream pink. Despite the overall romantic tone, the styling opted for chunky socks instead of sheer nude hosiery. A deliberate choice that keeps the look from reading as a literal period costume. Layering was another key technique at play. Not the 90s grunge version, but a more refined approach using several ultra-thin layers, like 2 or 3 sheer camisoles stacked together. Patrick McDowell offered a younger, more playful spin on 50s glamour, exaggerated floral prints, and an interestingly knotted scarf. A thin turtleneck works well underneath a dress like this. Even though a turtleneck wasn't obviously part of this particular look, it appeared elsewhere in the same show, a detail with no real precedent in actual 1950s dressing. Layering a turtleneck under this kind of dress today instantly reads as modern and intentional, opening up a different set of stylistic associations than a straight period reference would. Richard Quinn presented a full-on 50s glamour look, again suggesting a panniers-like underlayer. The bustier took center stage, hugely popular in the 1950s, but today completely untethered from that era, functioning instead as one of the season's most fashionable dress silhouettes for both summer and winter collections. A large brooch anchored the bow, and opera-length gloves completed a formal, event-ready outfit. Scaled back, the same idea easily reads as far more everyday. Matières Fécales. Another compelling take on styling came from a 50s-inspired two-piece deliberately clashed with oversized, exaggerated shoulder padding. A voluminous ballet-style tutu skirt, bow detail pumps, and a heavy dose of jewelry were paired with sleeve lengths borrowed more from the 70s or 90s. The result reads as glamorous and balletic while still carrying edgier notes. Bold shoulders and a faint Gothic undertone. Gothic remains a consistently relevant thread running through current fashion. MM6 Maison Margiela. One of the season's best interpretations of the full skirt came from MM6, Maison Margiela's secondary line. A tiered, ruffled skirt hitting just below the knee or mid-calf is an easy, versatile piece that works with nearly anything. Instead of a blouse, the top here was a trench-inspired jacket tucked into the skirt. Pairing a romantic, voluminous skirt with sporty, retro military or minimalist elements works remarkably well. Proof that today's femininity isn't locked into a literal 50s reproduction. It's a looser, more diffuse idea, nodding to the 50s or 20s while getting updated and modernized through unexpected combinations. Ermanno Scervino sits at the expensive luxury end of the market. but remains highly commercially minded, translating trends into forms that will land well with buyers. This look paired an ultra-light silk tutu skirt with a short, double-breasted jacket, reminiscent of 1950s Dior. Deliberately understated shoes and a muted palette kept the look from reading as a costume-like period reference. Strappy stiletto heels would have tipped it into overkill. Roksanda. A century ago, the 1920s robe de style referenced 18th century silhouettes, closely related conceptually to Dior's later new look, sharing the same historical DNA but differing in where the waist sits. Natural for Dior, dropped to the hip for the 20s version. Roksanda's take clearly nods to the 20s silhouette, closely echoing a 1924 Jean Lanvin design at first glance. While this rendition leans dressy, the same skirt architecture can also work without a rigid underlying structure, since certain fabrics hold shape on their own through the right cut, producing a similar silhouette in a softer, more relaxed version. Dolce and Gabbana gravitate toward glamour almost by default, though they often edge into overtly sexualized territory rather than pure glamour. This particular look, however, was notably restrained and composed. Alberta Ferretti frequently leans into glamour, and here delivered one of the season's defining pieces, a full A-line skirt, mostly falling to mid-calf, a direct nod to 1950s silhouettes. It was styled with a peplum jacket, decorative ruffles up top, and tall boots, a distinctly 70s touch. Fashion rarely recreates one era wholesale anymore. Instead, a single look typically blends references from several different decades at once. Dior. Several major houses have recently shuffled their creative directors, and many are now pushing their ready-to-wear further upmarket, borrowing more openly from their couture lines. Dior, Chanel, and a handful of peers are leaning hardest into this, since they have the couture infrastructure to make it work. Something mass-market brands simply can't replicate. For that reason, the most useful reference points for a broader audience tend to be mid-tier, more commercial labels rather than the top of the luxury pyramid. The look in question featured an asymmetric, tiered ruffle skirt paired with a jacket, deliberately cut slightly too small for it. That intentional mismatch between top and bottom is a clever styling device, combining pieces that don't obviously belong together to create a more interesting overall effect. Alaïa doesn't quite crack the very top tier of commercial powerhouses, but consistently comes close with strong editorial ideas. One standout look leaned into another key trend of the season: short pile fur with a velvet-like texture, a material having its own moment right now. The outfit combined a dramatically draped, voluminous, asymmetric hem, a cinched waist, an elegant shawl collar, and a soft yellow palette. Thierry Mugler offered one of the more technically interesting takes on the season. Pleated and crinkled fabrics dominated runways not long ago. Long skirts in every color and material to the point of oversaturation. Now the texture is back, but has migrated away from skirts into other pieces. Peplums, tunics, dresses. The standout skirt here sat close to the body through the waist and hips, then bloomed into volume at the low hip, evoking a pannier-style structure underneath. The proportions were spot on, and the thigh-high boots deserved particular attention. The top stayed simple, a slim patterned knit with a contrast belt and precisely chosen jewelry.